Ah! I mean, hello. Yes, I'm a Sarah and I'm presenting on skins and stuff and things and I made a skin and I'm going to show you stuff and how to make a skin. Yes, I don't know. Is it going to show the thing or is it showing the thing? I don't actually know how this works.
It's showing it now.
Okay, so it's a, well, actually it's not done at all. But basically I'm going to make this out of this. So y'all should be familiar with Winter, which is Brandon Harris's thingy with interface stuff and, it's very fancy, very shiny. So if anyone has any questions or comments or whatever, please interrupt me because I don't know what I'm talking about. And if you interrupt me, then it'll be less obvious that I don't know what I'm talking about because I won't be allowed to ramble as much. Yeah. And yes, I don't know. So a skin.
Winter, just to break in here, Winter is the skin that Brandon Harris worked on in a while. It's not under active development right now, correct?
Right. It's basically a prototype that's sitting there that you can do stuff with, and it has some funky module things that I think the idea was to have a lot of them that folks would just plug in and then make it fancy. I don't really know. But like the footer here was one of those, the way it's darker than everything else.
And basically the two that people are probably most familiar with, I'm assuming, are going to be Vector, which is the default on Wikipedia, and Monobook, which is the old default on Wikipedia. And there are others out there, but those are the two big ones, right?
Yeah, so Vector, everybody's seen that. It looks like Wikipedia. And Monobook, well, it looks a lot like Vector.
Oh, and John also pointed out Minerva as well, which is Minerva the default on
it's the mobile front end.
Yeah, but you can apply it to desktop, like with the same.
Okay. This was completely different, which is actually pretty cool. Although it has a lot of features that you only ever actually see in mobile, which is kind of a shame because they'd be very useful in desktop as well. But there's work on that. I'm hopeful. Anyway, yeah, so making a skin. I'm going to try to show you how to do that, maybe. Yes. I don't know. So basically, the whole thing is fairly straightforward. You just make a skin, you stare at it, and stuff. I don't know.
So what we're looking at here that you have up on the browser window,
this is a prototype, basically. It's not a real skin.
Based on based on Brandon's old work.
No, this is Brandon's thing right here.
Okay, got it.
So this is basically a prototype. It's not a real skin as yet. So okay. I'm making a skin based on it. So yeah, if you've actually got a prototype when making a skin, it makes things so much easier, incidentally. What just happened? Hey, my computer started responding. That was random. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, but basically when you want to make a skin, you figure out what you want to do, and then what you do is you clone the example skin. This is a clone of the example skin. There's not much to it. It's very example-y. I can actually show you the source and stuff. If Rachel, could you switch the thingies?
All right, we can see the other screen.
Excellent. So I've cloned the example that was whatever, and it's just, this is a timeless skin. So example is just very straightforward, very basic stuff, and basically you just copy all of that, and then what you do to make an actual skin is you just replace every instance of the word example with the name of your skin. So that becomes timeless just throughout the entire thing, and then you just go through all the files and you do that, and then you wind up with a skin that looks exactly like example that you can then do stuff to and make it shiny. Okay, switch back over, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so there's basically the minimum example there has 4 files in it, correct?
Well, these are the 4 main files. There's also the
The
common
resource.
stuff. Which one is sharing? Is this one still sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know. So yeah, there's the resources. It's some example stuff. I put up some mixes just to show what they look like. And yes. And there's also the I18N files, which you also need to change. If you just do it according to the format, it'll all keep working, and then the translate wiki people will suddenly randomly start translating it when you least expect it and confuse the hell out of you. So yeah, you do that, then you have a skin, then you basically just delete all the stuff out of the skin. So I don't know. I've got the commit log or whatever of timeless here, so I can just check out the different versions and show you. So yes. Okay, switch screens, I guess.
Okay.
So now there's no styles, or at least there should be no styles if it loads. And now it's just like, this is your basic skin. You just have stuff on the page, and then you can move it around and style it and do whatever. And okay, so we switch back. I can show you what that actually looks like.
Okay, we switch back.
So this is the skin template. Well, this is actually the base template. This is problem here where we've got a skin template, which is the skin class for the skin you're making. And then you've also got the name of the skin template, which is the base template, which I do not really know how to refer to these in any sensible manner that is not horribly confusing, because these names are just completely confusing. Basically, there's a bunch of class stuff and object stuff in the PHP, and it doesn't really matter. Just ignore all that, please, for your own sanity.
Another question, sorry to keep breaking in here. So the thing that you're doing here, which I think is a very cool thing, if I understand it correctly, is that you've got a repository that you've checked in the timeless stuff into, and then you're showing us snapshots along the way of that repository. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then
No.
and this repository will be able to get links to this after the presentation, right?
Well, if I knew how to actually link to stuff, yes. It's in Garrett and on GitHub. So
Okay, we'll figure that
what
out later.
stuff is. Yeah, I'm not very helpful.
That's
So-
okay. That's okay. But we know that it exists and you intend to publish it, so we'll figure out how to publish it after the fact. Okay, keep going.
It is available. It's not done. I only really started on Friday, and most of what I did was actually yesterday. So it's not really a fully working skin as yet or anything, so don't expect too much. But yeah. And also, where this one is, timeless, example is in the same area, so if you want to make one, go there, just copy all the files out of that. That's what you do. So this here is where the actual skin stuff happens. This is what renders the page. The base template class, basically. Don't worry too much what all the stuff is. It doesn't really matter that much. You just have all this stuff, and then you can rearrange it, basically. So say you've got the search thing. It's down here in the navigation right now. You can move that to the top if you want, or put it wherever, depending on how you want to style it, basically. You just move any of this stuff around. Well, probably want to only do it like that, but yeah. So for instance, this one is the sidebar. This one's like the page tools, like edit, view, history, etc. And then this is the personal menu here, the user links. So these are all functions that are at the bottom of the thing, so you can actually edit them however you want. They do horrible things. It's kind of a mess. But the point is, you can just move things around, and then you can assign them classes. You can add in divs and whatnot wherever. So that is basically the bulk of making a skin. You just do a lot of that. And then you apply styles and stuff. One thing that really helps I found with making skins is if you like set up the less, if you actually use the less, it really helps for making things consistent and whatnot. So here I've set color variables and whatnot. So here's like the links are using these. They're in here. So I just set a bunch of things. So there's like the gray, there's like the text in the background, a bunch of colors because I'm going to be using red, green, and blue a lot with this. And yeah, so I just set a bunch of colors and then set those up in. Yes.
And sorry to break in again. The less is a templating language on top of JavaScript, correct?
It's CSS stuff. I don't really know.
CSS, sorry.
It's like a language that compiles the CSS. It gives you things like mixins and variables.
Can you speak louder so they can pick it up on that?
Yeah, sure. It's like a language that compiles to CSS. It gives you certain things like mixins, variables, and other like useful things for generating CSS.
Yeah.
Yeah. CSS is a crappy language.
So this here is a mix-in. It's just set some stuff, then you just put hidden in a thing, and then it applies these things to that thing. And then you can reuse variables anywhere. This text editor is absolutely terrible. Why am I using it? But yeah. So you reuse those wherever, which is probably what you want to do. Because that way things are much more consistent. And I think from there I actually applied them to the forms and whatnot. Or that's the wrong keyboard. So yeah, then I applied them to the forms. I don't know. Okay, so if we switch screens to the browser, why am I on the main page? Well, anyway, you can't see any difference on the regular stuff, but if you go to the, oh, here, you see this on the search. So it's actually got a styled button now, and then these are styled, and suddenly they're styling. And it's just using the colors that I set before, so these aren't actually that great of colors. They're just basically random ones I chose. But this means that they're really easy to change and fix since they're all in one place. So that's good. Why is my mouse cursor moving?
Hey, Sarah, I had a question. It looks,
Yes.
Are those buttons, the search and go, are those MediaWiki UI or OJS UI buttons?
One of them is, one of them isn't. So
you changed, so you restyled?
Basically, I overwrote everything because everything is horribly inconsistent. There's no sane way to actually make an OUI theme in a skin. That really needs to be fixed.
Can we switch over to the browser's side for a second on the view? Okay, so you're talking about the go and search buttons here.
Oh, yeah, these.
Which
Yes.
which one of these buttons is OJS UI and which one isn't?
The search one that's actually labeled search, I think, is. I can maybe find out. There, no, that's just a media. I don't know what this is. MediaWiki UI. I guess that's not OJS either, is it? Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know anything about this. Does anyone know what the classes are?
It looks like that's using the MediaWiki UI CSS classes, but it's not an OOJS UI widget.
Okay. I don't really know. I just wrote everything because it's inconsistent. So yeah, we switch back to the.
If it was OJS UI, it would be wrapped in some container elements and stuff, and it would have a lot more classes. It's not. That one's just.
Oh, there are a lot of containers here. Oh. Ah, crap! I forgot this thing is. Ah, no, Firefox. Actually, yeah, you're right. This isn't that many. Well, anyway. So we switch back to the forms, or not the forms, the full screen thing.
We're back.
Okay, so the forbs are this horrible soup that I need to open. Because I might as well show you all this horrible stuff. What the? Was I just using this editor? What the? Oh, weird. The other one started. Okay, so now we have syntax highlighting and stuff. Nice. Forbs. So, when I would style the forms, what I do instead of doing something sane, because there is basically no sane way to do this, is I copy everything out of gray stuff, which I hack together in a horrible soup initially. So it has its own forms thing, so gray stuff has its forms. I just copy all of this and change it up a bit. This is horrible. This is not the right way to do it. It just keeps getting messier and messier every time I do it because all the horrible hacks from before are there, and then I notice new things with like the MediaWiki UI stuff, and then I add more things, and I just override everything. Well, this should tell you how bad this is. It's just overriding every single class I found. I would say don't do this, but I honestly don't know of a better way to style these things so they're actually consistent. Although, if you are going to do this, you should actually style the progressive and primary and constructive and whatnot separately, because they're there for a reason. I just haven't gotten around to that yet. Yeah. Anyway. Oh.
Well, I guess the interesting thing is that MediaWiki UI and the MediaWiki theme in OJS UI were always considered sort of orthogonal to skins, so that
But they really shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's a valid argument, and there was a thought that, well, in each of the skins we ship, the buttons would be made sort of consistent with them, but nobody ever offered code to do that. So I think at one point there was a sample version of it where in Monobook the buttons were, I think they're all just kind of gray, but it didn't really take off, is my recollection.
In OOJS or whatever that is, there are two themes, the MediaWiki theme and the Apex theme. The problem is Apex is for a skin that nobody actually uses, and the MediaWiki one more matches winter than any skins that are actually in use, and there is no way within a skin to actually define a new one, which is very unfortunate, because if you could potentially style all the forms so much more easily and not have horrible soup to catch 20 different random classes that are all different types of inputs. Seriously, this is ridiculous. We've got MW-summary, MW-input, then there's MW-input, and so on. Which screen am I even sharing at the moment?
You're sharing the computer, not the browser.
Okay, let's switch to the browser. So for random example of buttons, this one has different buttons. This skin has buttons. They're completely different from the other skins. Yeah. That was random. Okay, and then there's these buttons, which are different. So, I don't know. Point is, we've got form styling now. It's like there's forms, and that's the only thing that's styled, which is really stupid, but anyway. So, if you're making a skin, and if you're me, what you do at this point is you just stare at the unstyled thing and go, what the hell? And then you come up with some structure and stuff, and yeah. The problem is, though, you do need to consider your desktop and mobile interfaces at the same time when doing this, because what you really want to do is have style sheets for each and a style sheet for common stuff, so that you have the least amount of redundancy and also don't have to override the styles from the other ones in each one. Though this does cause problems in Internet Explorer 8 because it doesn't actually support media queries with sizes set. and they just completely fail. So you need to give it a separate style sheet, which is another problem because there's no sane way to do that. So you have to manually create that style sheet and then add it as a separate one, even though there really should be a way in core to just tell it that this one is the fallback for Internet Explorer and then have it render that one. That would be really nice. Let's switch back to the full computer thingy.
All right, you're back.
I don't know what I'm doing at this point, I guess. Oh, hey, structure. Yes, that's the next commit. So, there's some structure. Oh, what the? Maybe that was what happened to my editor. Okay, so I need some way to diff this. So basically what I did here is I went through the base template class and rearranged it and added classes. So I put containers around everything because I love containers and I love to abuse containers, and containers are your friends. And oh, hey, the skin actually has a layout now. Hold on, yeah. So switch back to the browser.
Okay.
So now there's actually structure here because I set containers for each of these things. So this is a thing, and then middle stuff's a thing, and then there's sidebars on both sides, because this skin, what I decided to go with was basically a 3-column layout, because you can see in Winter there are 3 columns, basically, the navigation, the content, and then content-related stuff. So I set that up here, and now there's a bit of a layout. And yeah, I guess switch back to the text editor stuff.
Okay, we're back.
So yeah, these things are... I don't know if I actually have anything. So yeah, it's broken up into header stuff, content stuff, although the content includes columns too because they're in the same hierarchy. You can do fancier things with things like Flexbox, but the problem is Internet Explorer doesn't support it until 11, so you need a fallback, and usually I just don't bother with that very much. I just stick to floats and whatnot, and then use that to make it fancier. The Flexbox, I mean. So yeah, each thing is in its own container. They're just clearly laid out according to what they are and where they are on the page. And then apply some styles. Actually, I put those in the desktop one because this is clearly desktop layout. We do not want 3 columns on mobile. That would be very, very bad. Yeah. That's not very much stuff. Okay, and then after that, more stuff happened. Oh, hey, here's a nice commit message. It says everything is horrible. I wonder what that is. No, really, I don't remember. So I guess we can switch back to the browser and find out.
All right, we're back.
Oh, hey, there's a broken header thingy. Yeah, it's starting to act more like Winter-ish. I went through a few different colors with this header. I mean, in Winter you can see it's just white and whatnot, but I didn't really like that because it doesn't provide enough contrast. You can't really tell what's going on with it. So I made it gray because I like contrast. And I can see why I called that horrible. That is broken. Yes. Interesting. But there's... Well, we switch back to the full screen, or the computer editor.
We're back.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot more CSS in here now. You just keep accumulating CSS, or less, or whatever it is. It just, yeah, it piles up. And the template just keeps getting longer, too. I don't really have anything to show you of interest, or I don't know. Oh, wow, I spent some time styling the search. Oh, actually, this is a good thing to show, because this was adding an icon vector style where it still has a label, but you can't see the label, which is theoretically good for screen readers because they'll still read it, maybe. assume they did that for a reason. I don't actually know.
Hey, Sarah, I have a few questions that are a little more
Yes.
general, if you don't mind. I'm just wondering if going through this, if you have experience with other, like skinning other kinds of sites or things, and you found things that they did that would make this easier.
Nope. Which is to say, I have looked at PHP and I have looked at WordPress, and I ran screaming away.
Okay.
Well, not screaming, but actually WordPress isn't that bad, but the forum one is like hundreds of files everywhere that you need to go through all these different files and change them separately because all the template things are just in these random files. And it's really kind of horrible. I just, yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Which one were you talking about again that had the hundreds of files?
I think it was PHPBB. There's a forum.
PHPBB. Okay, got it. So that was the one that you didn't like, and that's the one you're describing.
Yes.
Okay.
WordPress does some of that, but nowhere near as bad, so that helps. But it does have like separate files for header and footer, which is kind of annoying if you're just making simple things. What I like with MediaWiki is you can just do whatever the hell you want. You can include as many chunks of things as you feel like, basically, because you just include it. So, yeah. So, like, all this file is one thing here, but you can easily just make another class and then just call that class to do the rest of the page or something like that. But it's also all in one place. So if you're looking for something and you don't know where it's going to be, it is so much easier just have one file and go through it, assuming it doesn't get too big, which they definitely can. But yeah. Also, something that's really amazing about MediaWiki skinning is the internationalization. You can set every string to an I18N thingy. I didn't actually open that for some reason. So basically, you set every string as a thing, and then well, that's the documentation. But so you can set this to, you set all the strings basically, and then you can configure them on Wiki. You can change them quickly when they're all in one file. So it really helps just for general use, even if you're not getting your skin or extension translated at all. It's still nice to just have all the strings in one place so you can easily change them around and whatnot. And yeah, that is something I noticed that WordPress absolutely did not have, and it was kind of annoying and sad and annoying. Also, you can't just change them on Wiki.
And while you're on this subject, can you describe the difference between the en.json and the qqq.json?
So when you're making a skin, you'll only ever edit 2 of the I18N files. The en is the English one, which is basically the defaults, and then the qqq is the documentation that says what they are. If you're just doing it for yourself, the qqq is optional, but it still helps just because that way you have documentation. But what it's mainly used for is by the translators, so they know that, like, this is a template on Translate Wiki that just says it's optional to translate that. You don't need to. It doesn't really add anything because it's just the skin name. And then this description template, then you add more, and then you say that something is, well, I can check out something with more stuff in it. Let's see. So, hold on. Okay, so yeah. Kate, seriously? So yeah, so when you add more things, then you just, these are the strings that show up on the wiki. Then when you put them in the skin, it shows up as, so then you call them in the skin by doing this get message and then parse, and then you have the message that's parsed or escaped or whatever. There's documentation on how to use it exactly that I don't ever remember where it is, so I always just do parse and escaped, but that's probably really inspiring confidence. Anyway, the point is you have these strings, then you just call them and echo them, and then they're parsed, escaped, and you can edit them on Wiki, which is nifty. And the QQQ just says what they are for the translators. So it says that the timeless talk page that's what it is. It's just the link label in the personal menu for the talk page because I'm using a different link label than the default. I don't actually know why, but whatever. Point is, yeah. So you just set them, then you do documentation, then you call them, and magic happens, and then people translate them, and suddenly you've got languages and stuff. Yeah, can we switch to the browser?
Yep. You can see it.
Okay, so I think this is actually the current version of the skin, so let's see. I'm looking for a timeless user page. So this is actually an interface message for if it loads, this is a user interface message for the skin, so it actually shows up in the MediaWiki namespace. You can change it wherever you feel like, and this must be the broken one where the user menu doesn't show up. That's not the best one to be using. Page actions. Let's look at page actions. We can actually see that one. Wait, no, we can't. What am I looking for? I need something that's actually visible. More. You can see the more. The more is right here. That's this more. And yeah, so yes. It's really fun because you can change it to ridiculous things. I'm totally getting off track. What? Okay, I don't know what happened there. I may have broken my MediaWiki install. Never mind. Point is, you edit this, and then this would change, and it would say waffles in all caps. Yeah. No, I'm not saying you should do that. What I am saying is you should absolutely do stupid-ass things like... So this is one skin I'm working on. Another skin I am working on is this one. How about that display message? I didn't actually have a point there, but you could basically set them to whatever the hell. It shows up in a bunch of places, and it's all magical and whatnot and stuff. And I was going to show you buttons or something. Yes. So I was styling the search. I don't. So you see this little icon in the search thing. That is, well, that's a button. It's like actually I stole the code out of Vector, so it should switch back to the full screen editor thingy.
Okay.
Thank you. So that would be down here in the search thing. I just yoinked the code out of Vector and swapped all the stuff around so that it's whatever. So it's timeless and whatnot. I don't actually know what most of this stuff is. I don't really care. Point is, the thing, it does stuff, and then you style it, and you have magical... I'm looking at the wrong file. So yeah, you style it, and then you do stupid stuff like that, and suddenly you have magical no label that is visible that can still be read by screen readers and whatnot. And you also have an icon. That's a mix in there. Yeah. For basically this thing here, it's setting the background image to an SVG if browsers support it, and falling back to a PNG if they don't. It's actually, I might have it in here. It's actually this mix-in. So the fallback is for Internet Explorer and whatnot, and old Opera and stuff. And yeah, it just magically does all that. Nobody really cares. What you do is you just call it, and stuff works. The other thing that the search thing did, though, was it also added a interface message. somewhere. Yeah. Well, maybe. Huh? Or did I not actually add that yet? Okay, I didn't actually add that yet. Never mind. I did later change the placeholder text to be a specific message from the skin, so they would say that it searched the number of articles on the wiki instead of just search, because we've got all that space. We might as well use it, and it did do that in the prototype. So, yeah, that was the search thing. That was just stolen from Monobook mostly. What else? Oh, then there's just more structuring. Oh, the footer. Actually, no, there's a placeholder. I'll just check that out. So here we change the placeholder so that it is that specifically, and it's just a lot of the times in order to actually figure out how to call these functions, the only real way to do it is to go into MediaWiki's documentation that's rendered with Doxygen and whatnot, and just look at the functions in the class hierarchy. It's kind of a mess. I don't know where it is.
You have just 5 minutes left, so if there's anything that you want to show to finish up.
Let's see. Do I have anything else? Actually, that is mostly it. Most of what making a skin is just going around and reorganizing things and editing stuff. So, yeah, the next ones are just more of that. You're just styling it, basically. You're putting the things on the page and you are styling them. And, okay, yeah, I guess switching back to the browser, if I can find the...
Right, we've got it.
Okay, so somewhere is the... I think this is it. Yes, this is what you need to look through in order to find out how to call the functions differently. So like for the search placeholder, I found the search function that was actually being called, which was make search input from base template, apparently. And this is the rabbit hole that you don't want to fall into, but there's, holy crap, there's a lot of API stuff. Okay, so if you want to do fancy things with your skin, there's no way to avoid looking at the PHP, and if you don't know PHP, you will learn PHP. And if you don't know classes, you will learn classes, because I did not know classes, and now I sort of know classes. But yeah, so I found the base template function that was like make search input. So I just found this, and then I looked at what it actually took. I think I just looked at the source. So then I found that it actually took a placeholder. So then I just set the placeholder. I gave it a placeholder information thingy, or array, whatever the hell you call it. I set a placeholder in the thing that actually calls the make search input within the output search function in the skin itself. So that's how I change the search suggest stuff. Most things are pretty simple like this. You just track down whatever it is you're calling and then look at what it does, and if it doesn't make sense, you ask someone who knows what they're doing. But some things are not so simple. Can we switch back to the editor?
Yep.
Okay, some things are not so simple. Let's see. Oops. What? Okay, so what I wanted to do is, seriously? What I wanted to do was also change how the page tools are output, which there is no sane way to do that. Which screen am I on?
You are on the computer screen. I can switch back to the browser if you like.
No, computer is probably what I want right now. Actually, no, let's switch back to the browser.
Okay.
So you can see the tools for the page are broken up into a bunch of different things. There's the usual namespaces thing that you see in Vector and Monobook. Then these two are not all the ones you usually see, because usually it would also have, like, the view source thing is an edit thing. So that would normally be over here, and then there's the more tools, which are all page tools, which are broken out over here. And then there's the wiki-specific tools, which I put over here. The problem is there's no sane way to do that, so switching over to the editor. Rachel?
Oh, yep.
Are we on the editor now?
Yep, we're on the editor.
Okay, so what I wound up having to do was basically just get a pile of all the tools and then manually sort them. This is horrible. You should never do things like this, except there is no better way to do this, so I did this. What we really need is basically, well, the problem here is that these are just the MediaWiki core tools. Extensions add all manner of tools. The problem is extensions can't set where they want the tools to show up in this. To my knowledge, there is no way for an extension to say something is a user tool or a page tool or an edit tool or whatever. It's just a tool that it adds to the toolbox or whatever. Which, as you can see in the skin, I got rid of the toolbox. Now there's just a pile of general tools they get dumped in so they don't get lost completely, hopefully, but that's less than ideal. Do we have more time?
No.
We are out of time, but we have this space for longer if there's anything that you need to wrap up.
No, I should stop. Are there questions?
Okay. Are there any questions on the Hangout or on IRC?
Oh, actually, there's one thing I did forget to mention. Not too fast. What?
Yeah, one thing I was curious about was the quick template implements this get and set for items, but I've noticed a lot of skins, they just go in and sort of dump out things from the data sort of array. And I was wondering, do you use get and set at all, or do you just do the same thing and just, if there's something in data you want, you just kind of reference it?
Yeah, that is a serious problem. Part of the problem, though, is quick template only has some things. Base template does a lot of the dumping stuff out, so you're extending base template. And then there's a lot of stuff that's just plain missing. We really need proper get and set functions. We need abstraction for these things that's actually sane. Something I had to do with the categories is, even though there is a get category function, well, actually specifically a get category links function, I don't think it's in these templates. And it only, so basically there's a bunch of get category links functions. One of them is in title. It gets the categories for the title. One of them is in output page. It gets the categories for the current page view. So if you're actually viewing the page or editing it, it shows them, but otherwise it doesn't. And I believe the quick template or base template, whichever one of those is getting it, uses the output one. The problem is, if you want the categories to always show up, you need to use both of them, because there's just no good way to do it. The problem here is that, yes, we should be probably just using get functions. There just aren't get functions that do most of the needed things. So I've been trying to find them and use them more if they exist, but sometimes they're not where you expect them to be. Sometimes they're in quick template, sometimes they're in base template, sometimes they're in skin, sometimes they're in skin template, sometimes they're in output page, sometimes they're in title, sometimes they're in... it's a mess. Yeah. I don't know.
Any more questions? All right, that's great. Thank you so much, everyone, stopping the broadcast. Thanks. That was a great presentation.